What if I told you the best spot on your map is now the absolute worst place to fish? It sounds crazy, right? We spend years learning to identify the perfect points, drop-offs, and weed beds. But today, we're diving into a wild idea. Are fish now genetically programmed to avoid our favorite, most pressured fishing spots? It's a theory that might explain why your honey hole has completely dried up. By the end of this video, you'll understand it's not just about fishing pressure. It's about something deeper, something passed down from one generation of fish to the next. I promise this will change how you look at a lake map forever. Let's start with a question for you to think about. Do you have a cursed spot that used to be fantastic, but now produces nothing? Let me know in the comments. For decades, the rules of fishing have been simple. Find the structure, find the fish. We buy expensive electronics, we study contour maps. We look for those classic features, underwater humps, creek channels, rocky points, and submerged timber. The logic is sound. These places offer food, cover, and ambush points. It's where fish should be, and for a long time they were. Word gets around. A spot becomes a community whole. On any given Saturday, you'll see a handful of boats circling the same small area. We all do it. We go to where the fish are supposed to be. We call it fishing the pattern. But we've been doing this for so long and with such intensity that we never stop to ask a critical question. What if the fish have learned the pattern too? Picture this scene. It's early morning. The fog is just lifting off the water. The air is still and quiet. You've got your coffee. You're feeling good. You pull up your digital map. You motor over to that one spot. You know the one I'm talking about. It's the legendary spot, the one marked with a dozen waypoints. It's a perfect underwater point. It drops off into deep water. There's a nice weed edge. It has everything a big fish could ever want. For years, this spot has produced. Your grandfather fished here. Your father fished here. Every local angler knows this place by name. It's the first place you go. It's the last place you check. It's supposed to be a guaranteed bite. You cut the engine. The silence is perfect. You can almost feel the fish watching you. You grab your favorite rod. You tie on your most trusted lure. You take a deep breath. You are about to make the perfect cast into the perfect spot. This is what fishing is all about. The anticipation is high. The potential is enormous. It feels like a sure thing. Nothing can go wrong. Today is the day you'll catch a monster right here. You are absolutely certain of it. You make that first cast. It lands perfectly right along the weed line. You work the bait back to the boat with expert precision. You feel every pebble on the bottom. But there's no thump, no tick, nothing, so you cast again and again. You switch lures, you try a topwater, you switch to a jig, you slow down your presentation, you speed it up. An hour goes by. The sun is higher now. Another boat pulls up nearby and you watch them do the exact same thing. They cast and retrieve, cast and retrieve. A silent, shared frustration hangs in the air. You've marked fish on the sonar. They are down there. You can see the arches sitting right on the structure, but they have complete lockjaw. It makes no sense. The gear is perfect. The conditions are perfect. The location is perfect. But the result is zero. Absolutely nothing. It feels like you're fishing in a completely empty pond. You start to question everything, your lure choice, your technique, even your sanity. Is there something wrong with you today, or is there something wrong with the spot itself? The frustration is real, and every angler has felt it. We've all been there, sitting on a spot that should be electric, but it's dead as a doornail. So what do? We start making excuses. We blame the weather. It's too hot. It's too cold. The barometer is falling. The barometer is rising. We blame the full moon. We blame the boat traffic. We blame the jet skiers from yesterday. We come up with a million reasons why the fish aren't biting. It's a natural human response. We look for an external factor to explain the failure, but we rarely, if ever, blame the spot itself. We refuse to believe that a place so perfect, so historically productive, could simply be bad. We think it's a temporary slump. We tell ourselves they'll be biting here tomorrow. We pack up, maybe try another well-known spot, and plan to come back to this one later. The idea that the spot is permanently compromised doesn't even enter our minds. It's too fundamental a belief to challenge. Good spots are good spots, we tell ourselves. But what if that's the biggest lie in fishing? What if the spot isn't just having an off day? What if it's been retired for good by the fish themselves? Let's dig into that common excuse. Fishing pressure. What does that phrase actually mean to most of us? Usually it means there are too many boats on the water. We think of it as a short-term problem. The fish hear the trolling motors. They see the shadows of boats overhead. They see dozens of different lures passing by their faces all day long. So, naturally, they get spooked. They become cautious. They stop feeding aggressively. We imagine the fish hiding deep in cover, waiting for things to quiet down. We think of it like a crowded restaurant. When it gets too loud and busy, you might lose your appetite for a little while. You just wait for the rush to be over. That's our standard definition of fishing pressure. It's a temporary condition that affects the fish's mood for a few hours or maybe a few days. It's an inconvenience, not a permanent change. We assume that by Wednesday, when everyone is back at work, the fish will forget all about the weekend chaos and go back to normal. This assumption is the foundation of our entire approach to fishing these popular spots. But this assumption may be deeply flawed. Our entire strategy is often based on waiting out the pressure. We think if we just show up on a weekday or right at dawn, we can beat the crowds and find the fish in a better mood. We assume their memory is short. We think that a fish that saw 10 spinnerbaits on Saturday won't remember them on Tuesday. We believe that the fear is temporary. Once the perceived threat, the boats, the noise, the lures is gone, the fish will relax. They will come back out from their hiding places. They will position themselves on that prime piece of structure again. They will be ready to feed. This is the cycle we believe in. Pressure on, fish off. Pressure off, fish on. But here is the critical question. What if they don't forget? What if the memory of danger associated with that spot is much, much longer than we think? Studies have shown that fish, like carp and bass, can remember a negative experience with a specific lure or location for months, even up to a year. Think about that. A single bad experience can create a long-term avoidance behavior. Now, what happens when that negative experience isn't a single event but a constant year-after-year onslaught in the exact same location? The pressure isn't just a mood killer, it's a lesson in survival. What if the fear is deeper than just a bad memory? What if that spot is now permanently blacklisted in their minds? Imagine a deer trail that crosses a busy highway. The deer that are reckless and don't learn to be cautious are the ones that get hit by cars. The ones that survive are those that learn to associate the sound and sight of that road with extreme danger. They teach their fawns to be careful. The entire population becomes wary of that specific location. It's a learned behavior critical for survival. Fish are no different. That beautiful underwater point, that perfect drop-off, it's their highway. Our boats are the cars, and our lures are the predators. Every time a fish is hooked and landed, or even just hooked and lost, it's a traumatic, life-threatening event. Their buddies see it happen. They feel the panic. The lesson is learned. This beautiful home is also a place of great danger. When this happens thousands of times in the same spot, it stops being a home. It becomes a place to be avoided at all costs. It's a simple, powerful survival instinct. Avoid the place where bad things happen. Now let's take this idea one giant leap further. This is where it gets really strange, and it might just blow your mind. Let's talk about heredity. We all learned in school that animals pass down physical traits to their offspring. A big bass is more likely to have offspring that also have the potential to grow big. It's basic genetics, a fish's coloration, its body shape, its growth rate. All of these things are written in its DNA and passed from one generation to the next. We accept this without question, but for a long time we believed that's where it stopped. We thought that learned behaviors, fears, and memories died with the individual. The idea that an experience could change the instincts of the next generation was dismissed. But new science, particularly in the field of epigenetics, is starting to challenge that old belief. Scientists are discovering that intense, stressful, and repeated experiences can cause changes not to the DNA itself, but to how that DNA is expressed. And incredibly, some of those changes can be passed down to the next generation. It's a very new and complex field of study, but the implications for us as anglers are absolutely massive. It opens up a wild new possibility. Let's be clear about what we are suggesting here. We are not saying that a bass gets caught on a green pumpkin jig and then its babies are born with a specific, conscious fear of green pumpkin jigs. It's not that literal. The mechanism is much more subtle, and it's rooted in the simple, brutal logic of survival of the fittest. It's about which fish in that population live long enough to reproduce and pass on their genes. Think about any population of fish. Within that group, there's a natural variation in behavior. Some fish are naturally bold, aggressive, and curious. They are the first to investigate a new lure. They are the risk takers. On the other end of the spectrum, you have fish that are naturally shy, cautious, and wary. They hang back. They are suspicious of anything new or out of place. They are the risk-averse individuals. In a natural environment, both of these personality types can be successful. But something changes dramatically when you introduce intense, focused, and relentless angling pressure into the equation. We, the anglers, completely change the rules of the game for them, and we change who wins. It all comes down to which fish survive to spawn. Let's go back to our famous community hole, that perfect spot on the map. We, as anglers, are the primary predator in this environment. So, which type of fish are we most likely to catch? It's the bold ones, the aggressive fish, the ones that can't resist chasing down a crankbait or smashing a topwater lure. Their aggressive nature, which might be a huge advantage in a natural environment for securing food and territory, becomes a fatal flaw in a heavily fished lake. They are the easiest to catch. We catch them, we put them in the live well for the tournament, or maybe we take them home for dinner. The key point is this: they are removed from the gene pool before they have a chance to reproduce as much as their shyer counterparts. We are systematically, though unintentionally, removing the genes for boldness and aggression from the fish population, specifically at these high-pressure locations. We are the architects of a new kind of evolution in our lakes. We are the force that is shaping the future generations of fish. We think we are just out for a day of fun, but we are actually conducting a massive, long-term genetic experiment on a huge scale. So if we are constantly removing the bold and aggressive fish, who is left behind? It's simple. The survivors are the shy ones, the wary ones, the fish that were born with a natural tendency to be suspicious, the ones that saw that spinnerbait and thought, nope, that doesn't look right. The ones that felt the vibration of the boat and decided to hide deep in the weeds instead of investigating. These cautious fish don't get caught as often. They live longer. They have more opportunities to spawn and pass on their genes. And what genes are they passing on? They are passing on the genes for caution. They are passing on the genes for wariness. They are passing on the genetic predisposition to be shy and risk-averse. Year after year, decade after decade, this process repeats itself like a relentless cycle. The bold fish get caught. The shy fish reproduce. The result is that the overall personality of the fish population in that lake begins to shift. They become, as a whole, harder to catch. This isn't just a theory. Biologists have documented this in scientific studies. Fish populations that are subjected to heavy angling pressure evolve to become less vulnerable to being caught. It's a documented scientific fact. This is a form of artificial selection, and we are the ones doing the selecting. Think about how we breed dogs. If you want a dog that is a good guard dog, you breed dogs that are naturally alert and protective. If you want a dog that is calm and friendly, you breed dogs with those traits. Over generations, you can dramatically change the temperament of the breed. We are doing the exact same thing to fish, but in reverse. We aren't trying to create a specific trait, but our actions are having that effect anyway. We are breeding for fish that are harder to catch. Every time we pull an aggressive fish from a famous spot, we are casting a vote for a future where the fish in that spot are more cautious. We are ensuring that the next generation will be descended from the most skeptical, most difficult to fool ancestors. It's a slow, invisible process. You can't see it happening season to season. But over the span of 10, 20, or 30 years, the cumulative effect can be profound. The fish of today are not the same as the fish of our grandfather's generation, especially in our most popular and accessible lakes. They are the great-grandchildren of the ones that got away. So let's connect this back to our best spot on the map. The offspring of these super-cautious survivors inherit that tendency toward caution. They aren't just taught to be wary by their parents. They are literally born with a brain that is hardwired for suspicion. For these new generations of fish, that perfect underwater point isn't a prime feeding location. It's a place of inherited danger. It's a place their ancestors instinctively avoided. The danger signal associated with that spot becomes part of their genetic makeup. It's not a conscious memory like, my dad got caught here. It's a deeper, more powerful instinct. It's a feeling of unease. It's an innate drive to avoid that specific area. Think of it like a bird that is born with the instinct to fly south for the winter. No one teaches it to do that. It just knows. In the same way, these fish are born with an instinct that tells them that big, obvious point is a bad place. Stay away. The best spot has become a genetically coded no-go zone. It has been transformed from a prime piece of real estate into a haunted house that fish are born to fear. This explains so much. This is why you can roll up to a classic textbook spot, mark a screen full of giant arches on your $1,000,000 sonar, and not get a single solitary bite. You might think they aren't feeding, but that might not be the whole story. It's not just that they aren't hungry, it's that they are physically and psychologically incapable of relaxing enough to feed in that location. For them, that spot is a place of extreme alert. It's a high-stress environment. They are hunkered down, fins tight, constantly on the lookout for danger. They are not thinking about ambushing baitfish. They are thinking about survival. They are there because the structure is physically appealing, but they are trapped in a state of anxiety. It's like a soldier trying to eat a peaceful lunch in the middle of a minefield. It just doesn't work. The fish you are seeing on the screen are the descendants of the ones who survived by being paranoid, and they are living up to their family's legacy. They are sitting on the spot, but they have absolutely no intention of participating in your fishing plans. They are simply waiting for the threat, you, to leave. Let's try to see it from the fish's point of view for a moment. Imagine you are a base living on a popular lake. Your entire world is that body of water. Now think about that one famous underwater hump. Every single day, but especially on weekends, strange things happen there. Loud rumbling noises pass overhead, heavy objects splash down from the sky. Weird, colorful creatures with hooks swim by erratically. Every so often, one of your peers viciously attacks one of these creatures and is violently ripped out of the water, never to be seen again. This happens over and over and over again in the exact same location. It doesn't happen out in the middle of the barren mud flat. It doesn't happen on that boring, featureless stretch of shoreline. It always happens right here at this specific spot. After a while, you don't need a high IQ to figure it out. This place is cursed. This place is a trap. This place is dangerous. The smart move, the only move for survival, is to get away from this spot. It's a lesson learned through direct, terrifying observation. This beautiful piece of structure has become the fish equivalent of a haunted house. Only the foolish or the desperate would dare to hang around there. So where do the survivors go? The fish that thrive in this new high-pressure environment are the ones that ignore the haunted house. They are the ones that have adapted. They have learned to find new homes in less obvious places. They've abandoned the prime real estate because it's too dangerous. So they seek out the B-list and C-list spots, the places that we as anglers often overlook. They might move to a seemingly random single boulder on an otherwise boring flat. They might tuck into a tiny patch of weeds in a shallow bay that everyone ignores. They might suspend out in the middle of open water, relating to nothing at all. They are looking for places that don't scream fish here on a map. They are looking for safety. They are trading the five-star restaurant on Main Street, which is constantly being raided by predators, for a quiet, hidden diner on a forgotten side street. The food might not be as concentrated, but the peace and safety are worth the trade-off. These fish are the genetic descendants of the survivors, and they are playing a different game. They are not following the old rules because they know the old rules get you killed. They are writing a new playbook for survival. This whole concept completely flips our traditional fishing strategy on its head. For generations, we have been taught to focus on the spot. We spend all our time and money trying to find and fish the best spots. We believe that location is everything, but if this genetic theory is true, then focusing on the classic, well-known spots is a losing game. The map is no longer your friend. In fact, on a heavily pressured body of water, the map might be actively lying to you. It's pointing you to places where the fish are most conditioned to be fearful. It's leading you directly to the fish that are the least likely to bite your lure. The community holes, the spots marked on every map chip, the places you read about in fishing magazines. These have become historical landmarks, not active feeding grounds. They are museums of where the fish used to be. Continuing to hammer these spots is like trying to hunt for buffalo in a place where they were all hunted out 100 years ago. The landscape is right, but the game is long gone. It's time to accept that the rules have changed, and our approach has to change with them. So what is the practical solution here? How do you actually use this information to catch more fish? It means you have to unlearn what you thought you knew. You have to start ignoring those big, beautiful, obvious spots, at least during prime time. Instead of looking for the most attractive piece of structure, you need to start looking for the most overlooked. You have to start thinking like a paranoid, hunted survivor. Where would you go to avoid constant harassment? You wouldn't sit on the most prominent point on the whole lake. You'd find somewhere quiet, somewhere boring, somewhere that doesn't show up on a map as a five-star location. This means spending more time fishing the in-between water, the long, seemingly featureless stretches between the classic spots. It means taking a chance on a piece of cover that looks insignificant. It means trusting your instincts when you see a flicker of life in a place that makes no logical sense. The key is to fish where the other boats are not. If you pull up to a lake and see 3 boats on one spot, The smartest thing you can do is go in the complete opposite direction and look for something that everyone else has missed. The new best spot is not a spot at all, it's a strategy. It's the boring-looking shoreline with a little bit of scattered rock. It's that random single dock halfway down a residential bank that everyone else drives past. It's a small depression in an otherwise flat, muddy bottom. It's the places that don't have names, the places that don't get talked about at the tackle shop. These are the refugees. These are the areas where the genetically cautious survivors have moved to escape the constant pressure of the main lake hotspots. The fish in these overlooked areas are different. They are less conditioned to seeing lures. They are more relaxed. And because they are more relaxed, they are more willing to feed. Finding them is harder. It requires more patience and a willingness to fish nothing for long periods. It means making 100 casts on a bank that looks dead. But when you do connect, the rewards can be huge. Because you are not just finding a fish, you are finding a whole population of fish that the rest of the fishing world is completely ignoring. You are finding the fish that have successfully adapted to our pressure. You are finally playing the new game by their rules. Ultimately, this is a radical shift in mindset. It's moving from spot-oriented fishing to fish-oriented fishing. Let me explain the difference. Spot-oriented fishing is when you put all your faith in a location. You go to the community hole because you believe the spot itself holds some kind of magic power. You fish the spot, not the fish. Fish-oriented fishing, on the other hand, is when you focus entirely on the probable behavior of the fish in that specific lake on that specific day. You ask yourself, given the insane pressure on this lake, where would a smart, wary old bass or walleye actually feel safe enough to live and feed? The answer is almost never going to be the most famous spot on the map. The answer will lead you to those weird, out-of-the-way places. It forces you to be a detective, not just a tourist visiting the same landmarks as everyone else. It means you have to be willing to fail, to try things that seem illogical, and to trust your gut. It's a more difficult way to fish, without a doubt, but on today's crowded waters, it might be the only way to consistently find and catch the biggest, smartest fish in the system. They aren't on the map anymore, they've moved off the grid. This idea of genetic conditioning also changes how we should approach a new body of water. The old way was to get a map, identify all the classic, textbook-looking spots, and then spend your day running from one to the next. The new way, get the map and identify all those classic spots so you know where to avoid. Use the map to find the places everyone else will be fishing, and then intentionally look for the opposite. Look for the largest areas of the lake that have the least amount of obvious structure. Look for subtle features that won't show up on a standard contour map. Look for patterns that are unique and unconventional. Instead of asking, where should the fish be? Start asking, where have the fish been chased away from? This will lead you to the fish that are unpressured, and an unpressured fish is a catchable fish. It's a total 180-degree turn from conventional wisdom. It feels wrong. It feels counterintuitive, but in a world where fishing pressure is higher than it has ever been, the counterintuitive approach is now the most logical one. The fish have adapted to us. Now it's our turn to adapt to them. The ones who do will be the ones who keep getting bites when everyone else is complaining that the lake is dead. So, let's wrap this up. We started with a simple question about a fishing spot going cold, and we've ended up deep in the world of fish behavior, evolution, and genetic memory. The main takeaway is this: we need to stop blaming a bad day and start considering that we, as anglers, have fundamentally and permanently changed the fish in our most popular lakes. The most mind-blowing moment is the realization that the best spots on the map haven't just been overfished. They've become genetically encoded danger zones passed down from one generation of fish to the next, and the fish aren't gone. They've simply evolved to outsmart our maps. This changes everything because it means you have to stop fishing the map and start fishing the fish. You have to think like a survivor. Thank you so much for watching and for going on this deep dive with me. If this video blew your mind or gave you a new perspective, please hit that subscribe button and give it a like. It really helps the channel. Now I have to ask you, have you ever caught a truly giant fish in a spot that made absolutely no logical sense? Tell me your story in the comments below. I want to hear about those weird, random catches that prove this theory right.